There's a kind of woman who doesn't chase love, yet it follows her. A woman who walks into a room and shifts the energy without saying a word. Men feel something around her, something deep, primal, magnetic. And they don't even know. Why? It's not about beauty, not charm, not wit or flirtation. It's something far more powerful, an authentic emotional frequency that cannot be faked or performed. It's not in the clothes she wears, the way she speaks, or even how she carries herself. It's in what she radiates when no one is watching. Carl Jung, the great depth psychologist, once said, "The soul does not perceive in words, it perceives in symbols, archetypes, and above all, vibration." What we call chemistry or love at first sight is not about logic, it's about resonance. The masculine psyche is unconsciously tuned to pick up on a particular frequency, the frequency of a woman who has come home to herself. A woman who is deeply embodied, grounded, and emotionally congruent. This energy doesn't beg, it doesn't manipulate, it doesn't perform, it simply is. And when a woman aligns with it, she becomes unforgettable, not because she tries to be, but because she dares to be fully herself, unapologetically. She no longer needs validation to exist, and in that freedom, she becomes magnetic. So what makes a woman truly magnetic, even if she doesn't fit into society's standard of ideal? What is this invisible force that makes men drawn to her, even when she says nothing at all? Why do they feel safe, curious, and slightly disarmed? This video is not about tactics, tricks, or how to make someone fall in love. It's about the inner transformation that happens when a woman integrates her light and shadow and begins to live from emotional truth rather than emotional need. We'll explore Jungian psychology, energetic alignment, and daily tools that reconnect you to your essence. By the end, you'll understand that the deepest love doesn't come from effort, it comes from resonance. So, if you're ready to stop chasing and start vibrating from your truth, keep watching. Carl Jung believed that much of what we call reality is filtered through the unconscious. He taught that the psyche is not limited to logic or language. It's a rich landscape of symbols, archetypes, dreams, and emotions. And at the deepest layer of that psyche lives the soul. Not the religious soul, but the psyche's essence, the part of us that perceives meaning beyond words. When we talk about energy, we're not being vague or mystical. We're describing what Jung would call the affect, the emotional vibration that radiates from the unconscious and influences how others feel us even before we speak. It's not what you say, it's what your entire being is silently expressing. This is why you can meet someone and instantly feel at ease or tense without knowing why. You're not reading their resume, you're reading their energy. And according to Jung, that energy is a direct result of the level of integration within the self. A woman who is fragmented, trying to be liked, hiding her shame, performing confidence, may look polished on the outside, but her vibration tells a different story. It's scattered, anxious, reaching, and even if she says the right words, something won't feel quite right to those around her, especially men attuned to feminine energy. But a woman who has sat with her grief, faced her rage, honored her desires, and stopped judging her, begins to emit something rare, coherence. Her inner world is not at war, she is emotionally aligned. And this alignment is felt as calm, grounded magnetism. She's not looking to be completed, she already is. The masculine responds to this coherence instinctively, not just as a romantic pull, but as a feeling of home. Something ancient awakens, a desire to be near her, to protect, to admire, or simply to witness her. But the key is, she's not doing anything to provoke that. She's not strategizing or seducing. She's simply being, radiating, existing in full presence. This is the soul's language, not beauty, charm, or clever words, but emotional frequency, the inner signal that speaks louder than any external performance. It's the resonance of truth, a kind of silent music that the unconscious of others can hear, even if the conscious mind doesn't understand it. Jung called this invisible attraction between inner energies the anima and animus dance. The anima is the feminine archetype within the male psyche. When a man encounters a woman who resonates with his unconscious ideal of feminine energy, not in looks or behavior, but in essence. It activates that archetype. He feels drawn to her, inexplicably. But this kind of pull doesn't arise from tactics or roles. It emerges when a woman stops trying to be what the world wants her to be and starts embodying who she truly is, fully, deeply, without apology. In that space, the soul of another doesn't just see her, it remembers her, as if something eternal has just been reawakened. That's not manipulation, that's magnetism. And it only happens when the feminine energy is no longer leaking, performing, or hiding, but standing in its truth. True feminine energy isn't loud, but it's unforgettable. It moves through rooms without sound, it leaves impressions without effort, and it speaks a language the mind cannot grasp, but the soul never forgets. What makes a woman unforgettable? Not her looks, not her words, not even her presence in the conventional sense. What makes her unforgettable is her integration, the deep, sacred union between all the parts of her that she once tried to hide. A truly magnetic woman is not a perfect woman. She is a whole woman. Jung taught that the psyche is divided into the conscious self and the shadow, the part of us that holds everything we reject, suppress, or disown. For many women, the shadow includes anger, neediness, deep desire, sexual energy, jealousy, sadness, and even power. Because for centuries, women have been conditioned to be nice, agreeable, and emotionally contained. So what happens when a woman begins to reclaim her shadow? She becomes emotionally honest. She stops performing happiness and starts feeling what's real. She no longer tries to be low maintenance just to be liked. She says what she feels even when it's messy. She allows herself to want, to long, to ache. And instead of hiding that from the world, she allows it to exist inside her with dignity. This is not weakness. This is integration. And it's deeply magnetic, because most people are not used to this kind of presence. They're used to masks, to emotional editing, to manipulation disguised as confidence. But when a woman shows up with all of herself, light and shadow, people feel something ancient, something sacred, something human. She no longer seeks to be chosen. She has already chosen herself. This doesn't mean she is always calm, or never, triggered, or endlessly wise. It means she knows how to sit with her inner world and meet it without judgment. She knows how to hold space for her own emotions. And because of that, she can hold space for others, not as a performance, but as a natural extension of her wholeness. This kind of woman doesn't chase. She doesn't need to. Her energy moves ahead of her. It filters who enters her space. It reveals who is capable of depth and who is not. She doesn't ask, "Do they like me?" She asks, "Do they resonate with the truth of who I am?" And here's what's truly beautiful. She doesn't need to be loud, dramatic, or dominating to get attention. Her stillness is what creates gravity. She doesn't need to perform to be seen. She's already vibrating truth, and that kind of truth doesn't need to raise its voice. Men feel this difference instantly. There's something disarming about a woman who isn't trying to impress you, a woman who can smile and look into your eyes and not hide, who doesn't rush to fill the silence, who doesn't shapeshift to make you feel more comfortable. She is rooted, present, awake, not because she wants to prove anything, but because she's finally home inside herself. This emotional presence, this silent power, is rare, and that rarity makes it irresistible. It's not charisma in the traditional sense. It's not performative femininity. It's not seduction techniques. It's a deep internal clarity. I know who I am. I have met all of me. I do not fear being alone, and I will not abandon myself to be loved. That kind of woman doesn't need a man to complete her. But if a man comes into her life, he feels something. He didn't know he was missing: depth, safety, invitation, truth. His nervous system relaxes, his mind quiets, and his heart, if he's ready, begins to open. This is the paradox. When a woman stops chasing love and starts embracing herself, she becomes the very energy that love cannot resist. Jung called this process individuation, the journey of becoming a whole, integrated self. It is not a destination. It's an ongoing unfolding. But as a woman walks that path, she begins to embody her own essence, and that embodiment becomes her power. She's no longer trying to be light all the time. She embraces her shadows without shame. She's no longer trying to be the good girl, she becomes the real woman. And that woman isn't nice, she is true. She is not always comfortable to be around, but she is always real. And for the masculine, especially the conscious masculine, this is magnetic. Because in her truth, he sees a mirror, a challenge, an invitation to go deeper into himself. Not all men can meet her there, but the ones who can feel it immediately. This kind of woman changes the atmosphere of any room she enters, not by trying, but simply by being. Her silence speaks, her presence calms. Her eyes say, "I see you," not as a strategy, but as an extension of her open, integrated self. The woman who integrates her pain doesn't push love away, but neither does she cling to it. She knows that true love doesn't come to fill a hole, it comes to join a whole. And when she lives from this truth, her energy becomes a sanctuary, not a battlefield. Her magnetism is not about seduction, it's about invitation. It says, I'm whole. You may join me, but I will not lose myself to keep you. And that is unforgettable. Every powerful transformation begins with a breaking point. For many women, that moment comes quietly, after yet another situation where she overgave, over-explained, overextended, and still wasn't met. It doesn't come with rage, it comes with clarity. A bone-deep realization. I'm tired of chasing. I'm tired of performing. I'm tired of giving energy to what doesn't see me. This is the turning point. It's not dramatic. It's not a declaration posted on social media. It's an inner shift, almost imperceptible to the outside world, but life-altering on a vibrational level. She no longer asks, "How do I get him to want me?" She begins to ask, "What am I vibrating that keeps inviting this dynamic into my life?" And then she stops. She stops texting first, stops proving her worth, stops explaining herself to people committed to misunderstanding her. She doesn't do this as a tactic, but because it no longer feels true. The energy has changed, and from that moment on, she begins to radiate instead of chase. This is not about ego or emotional shutdown. It's not about closing her heart, it's about reclaiming her center. Because the woman who radiates is not passive, she's powerful. Her energy is not scattered in pursuit. It's concentrated, aligned, grounded. And in that energy, she becomes incredibly selective, not out of fear but from deep knowing. She now understands that what's meant for her doesn't need to be chased. It will recognize her frequency. It will match her. This shift creates a new reality. People start responding differently. Some fall away, those who were attached to the version of her that overgave, but others start arriving, people who feel different. Relationships that begin with honesty, presence, depth. This is when she starts to realize that attraction is not about pursuit, it's about resonance. Because what she truly wanted wasn't love. It was truthful love, soul-aligned love. A connection where her fullness could be met, not managed. And she understands now that to receive that, she has to be willing to be seen as she truly is, not as what others want her to be. This can be an uncomfortable phase. She may feel alone at first. She may miss the drama of chasing, the temporary high of being noticed. But something deeper is growing inside her. Peace, self-trust, emotional sovereignty. And with that comes power. Because now she's vibrating. From alignment, not attachment. She's not trying to manifest a specific person. She's becoming the kind of woman who naturally attracts relationships that match her level of emotional maturity and inner clarity. From this space, her relationships shift from who will love me to who is capable of meeting me, and she's okay if the answer is no one, for now, because she's no longer afraid of her own company. Her solitude is no longer empty, it's sacred. A space where her truth echoes back to her, and where she can feel the quiet hum of her own essence. This is the radiant woman, the woman who doesn't run after love. She stands in it, becomes it, and only receives what recognizes it. She begins incorporating new micro-rituals into her life, not to manipulate outcomes, but to nurture her own frequency. She writes affirmations like, "I am enough now." She journals not to fix herself, but to hear herself. She breathes deeply before reacting. She says no without guilt. She stops explaining her emotions and simply honors them. She replaces the anxious questions with simple truths. If it's for me, it will come. If it's not, I will still be whole. And the universe responds. Her energy becomes her filter. Her presence becomes her power. She no longer needs to prove, perform, or pursue. She knows her energy speaks louder than her words ever could. This turning point doesn't happen overnight. It happens choice by choice, moment by moment. Every time she chooses not to abandon herself, every time she chooses truth over approval, every time she chooses stillness over chasing, and in that choosing she becomes magnetic, not because she's trying, but because her very being says, "I am already whole. If you cannot meet me here, I will not lower my frequency. I will bless you and keep rising." This is where the chase ends, and the true love story begins, not with another, but with herself. Energetic alignment isn't a one-time revelation. It's a daily choice, a way of living, a vibration that must be fed, protected, and consciously nurtured. When a woman starts living from her truth instead of her fears, her energy becomes sacred territory. And like any sacred space, it requires intentional care. Here are 3 core practices that help a woman root into her essence and radiate from alignment, not lack. Affirmations of personal power. Affirmations aren't magic words. They're energetic instructions. When spoken with presence, they rewire the subconscious and retune the emotional frequency. But the key is, they must come from truth, not fantasy. Instead of saying, "I am loved," when you don't feel it, say, "I am learning to love myself with the same intensity I used to give away to others." Other powerful examples: "My energy is my responsibility. I choose me even when it's uncomfortable. If it's for me, it will align with me. If it's not, I release it." These aren't affirmations of ego, they are commitments to your own alignment. When repeated with intention, they begin to alter the way you relate to the world. You stop outsourcing your worth. You begin to self-source your power. You stop leaking energy trying to be understood and start vibrating as someone who already understands herself. Emotional writing, without judgment. There's a quiet revolution that happens when a woman lets herself feel everything without censoring. Journaling isn't just self-expression, it's energetic cleansing. But this is not Dear Diary. It's raw, real, unfiltered emotional truth on paper. It's writing, "I'm furious today and I don't know why. I feel invisible and I hate how much that matters to me. I miss him, but I also feel free." This is where integration begins. When you stop performing emotional neatness and let your psyche show up as it is, without trying to fix, just to witness. When you do this, you don't just feel relief. You create coherence. You give space to the fragmented voices within you and allow them to be seen, heard, and loved. Over time, this deep emotional witnessing leads to self-respect. And self-respect is one of the highest frequencies of feminine energy. Vibrational surrender statements. The third practice is simple but radical, learning to let go vibrationally. This is not giving up. It's giving back what was never yours to control. It sounds like, "If it's for me, it will vibrate with me. If it leaves, it was never aligned with my truth. I don't chase, I attract what's real." These phrases aren't just comforting, they're calibrating. They tune your energy back to your essence. They break the cycle of anxious doing and return you to the power of being. When spoken from the heart, these statements rewire the nervous system. They interrupt patterns of emotional survival and replace them with energetic peace. They allow you to breathe, to trust, to release. And in that space, what is truly aligned has room to enter. Attraction is not a mystery, it's a frequency, a vibration, a resonance between two energies that recognize each other, not with the mind but with the soul. Throughout this journey, we've explored the invisible power of the integrated woman, the one who no longer chases, who no longer abandons herself for affection, who no longer hides her truth to feel safe. We've seen how Jung's teachings on the soul and the unconscious reveal a deep truth. The soul doesn't speak in words. It speaks in feelings, in subtle shifts, in emotional vibrations. And when a woman lives in integrity with herself, emotionally, energetically, spiritually, she becomes irresistible, not in the way the world defines it, but in the way the soul craves it. She becomes unforgettable, not because of what she does, but because of what she is. She's the woman who can feel her anger without apology, who can honor her sadness without shame, who can stand in her sexual energy without performing it, who no longer treats her fear as weakness, but as a signal to go deeper. And it's that emotional range, fully integrated, that creates the magnetic pull. Because the soul doesn't want perfection. It wants realness, aliveness, presence. This is why certain women leave lasting impressions. It's not what they said. It's how they made you feel. It was the permission they gave you to be more of yourself. It was the silence they weren't afraid to sit in. It was the depth they carried, without trying to prove anything. That's resonance, and here's the deeper truth. This kind of love, the one that finds you in your truth, doesn't require your effort. It requires your alignment. It comes when you are no longer vibrating from lack, but from enoughness. When you are no longer searching, but remembering. When your energy says, I am whole, you are welcome, but you are not needed to complete me. In that state, you stop trying to be chosen, and you become the chooser. You stop trying to fit, and you start expanding. You stop chasing love, and you start attracting truth. This doesn't mean love becomes easy. It means it becomes honest. And honesty is the soil where soul connections grow. So what now? Keep practicing your power. Keep choosing your emotional truth. Keep writing, breathing, honoring your feelings without judgment. Let your energy be your compass. Let your boundaries be your protection. Let your softness be your strength. Because the feminine energy that draws deep, soulful love is not perfect. It is present. It is alive. It is true. And when you start vibrating from your essence, you won't need to explain it. The right people will feel it, and the wrong ones will simply fall away, not out of rejection, but because they cannot match your frequency. That is the gift of the integrated woman. Her love isn't a performance, it's a presence, and that presence changes everything. It ripples through the world, through relationships, through generations. You become a mirror for others to remember themselves. You become a resting place for truth. You become the resonance that your soul has always been seeking. If this message resonated with you, share it with another woman who's ready to stop chasing and start vibrating in her truth. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more content like this, because your energy deserves to be reminded, again and again, you are already whole.